What's happening here half the time? I'm on live recording.
I'm mute, so I can't hear it.
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Oh, you can see us.
Already. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us. We're just admitting many members onto our Zoom recording. And I think we're ready to begin. So welcome. Welcome to my humble abode. I am Paul Charney, chairman of the UK Zionist Federation. If I could ask everybody to turn their audio off. I'd also like to a few housekeeping points that we will be taking questions. Gonen will be taking questions. Please, could you add your questions onto the chat, or you can write your questions on the Facebook, and we will try and get to as many questions as possible. But in the meantime, I'd just like to remind you, this is coming to live from courtesy of the Zionist Federation in the UK, who work tirelessly to try and keep you connected to Israel and everything interesting. I'd like to thank the WZO, World Zionist Organization, who are making this happen tonight. Dima and his team, Yitzhak, and all the rest of the team, we'd like to thank you. Let me start a little bit about telling you about a fantastic Israeli, a man who's given much for his country. His name is Gonen Ben Yitzhak. He is the son of a prominent Israeli general and served in the Israeli Navy for 3 years. Following his military service, he received a BA in degrees in both psychology and management at Ben Gurion University. After the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in '92, Ben Yitzhak joined this Israel Secret Service, known as the Shin Bet. This is the internal secret service, and he served in Ramallah in the West Bank. He served as a handler and a district manager during the Second Intifada. In 2006, Gonen left the Shin Bet and started his law and business management degrees at the IDC in Herzliya. He graduated in 2012 with a master's degree in law at Tel Aviv University. But more importantly, let's discuss a little bit about the time when Gonen served as an agent in the Shin Bet. He was there for 10 years, and he was personally responsible for recruiting the son of the Hamas leader at the time, Sheikh Hasan Yosef, also known as the Green Prince. He was the son of the Hamas leader in the West Bank at the time. Ben Yitzhak managed to turn this young man into an agent for Israel, and he worked for almost 10 years alongside Gonen, helping keep Israel safe. The story was so intriguing, it became the theme of the book, The Green Prince, which was adapted from Yosef's own 2010 memoir, Son of Hamas. This went on to become the renowned documentary that we know called The Green Prince, which won an award at the Sundance Film Festival. So without me going on anymore, I'd like you to hear from one of Israel's heroes, Gonen Ben Yitzhak. Welcome, Gonen.
Hi, thank you very much. Great pleasure to be here and talk to you. A bit strange for me. Usually I'm used to more personal events, but the COVID-19 crisis led us to, to do it this way. I actually was supposed to visit London this week, but everything changed because of the corona. So before I'll talk about my friendship with the Green Prince, let me talk and tell you a little bit about my background. I was born in Nes Ziona, a small town not far from Tel Aviv. My father was a general in the Israeli army, and I can say that basically I was raised in military bases. But when I was close to join the Israeli military, I wasn't sure what to do. You know, my father was always very busy with his military service, so he didn't have much time to tell me do this or that. And I thought to become a pilot in the Israeli army, in the Air Force. I thought to become a chopper pilot. It wasn't my dream, but always looked like big fun and very nice, even today. So I I joined the Air Force and went to all the exams. Soon I failed and went to the Navy. I served 3 years in the Navy, and just when I finished my military service, I joined Ben Gurion University and started to study psychology. And at the same time, when I was a student, I also worked for the Israeli Scout. I was head of one of the branches in Beersheba, in the D section in Beersheba, which is a very poor and tough neighborhood. And later on, I became the head of the Israeli Scouts in the southern area of Israel. And I worked for the Scouts until 1995, and just around the Rabin assassination, I graduated and I finished my work for the Scouts. And I must say that the Rabin assassination was a big shock for me as a young citizen in Israel. Nobody expected the fact that a Jew will come and assassinate the prime minister. And because of the very hard feelings that I had, I decided that I must go and do something meaningful for the state of Israel. I didn't know what I want to do, but I knew that I want to do something meaningful. And by coincidence, I saw an advertisement in one of the newspapers that a governmental institute is looking for people to work for it. I knew that this is the Shin Bet, though I didn't know much about the Shin Bet, the Israeli Secret Service. And I sent my CV. I didn't even think about really joining the Shin Bet. I must say I didn't know even a word in Arabic. Though when I was a child in Israel, we had only one TV channel, black and white channel, and every Friday we had only one thing to watch, and this is what we call an Arabic movie, or actually it's an Egyptian movie. Everybody watched the Egyptian movie. It wasn't that good, always the same theme, but everybody watched it. But it didn't make me to like the Arabic language or cinema at that time. And I joined the Shin Bet in the end of 1996. I started the very long training in the Israeli Shin Bet. In the beginning, we start to study Arabic, then to become actually a handler or intelligence officer in the Shin Bet. I finished my training May 1998, and I joined Ramallah area to become a recruiter, a handler. So let's talk a little bit about the Shin Bet, the Israeli Secret Service. The Israeli Secret Service, one of the intelligence services in Israel. We have the Mossad, we have the Shin Bet, and the military intelligence in general. The Shin Bet has all kinds of things to do, fights espionage, of course, the security of the prime minister, and also fighting terrorism. So I joined this section that works or fights terrorism, and I was joining the unit that works with human intelligence, actually recruiting Palestinians to work for the state of Israel. We're talking about Palestinians that live their life, but also keep some secret relationship with the handler in a specific area, meet with him, give him all kind of intelligence, information, and the handler collects this information, is responsible to make all kind of things, arrests, and special things in order to make sure that no terrorist will go from his area to commit any terror attack. So when I joined the Shin Bet, I came to Ramallah, one of the biggest cities in the West Bank, and I got to be in charge of all the villages around Ramallah. This includes, I'm not sure that you will be familiar with the names, but one of the biggest refugee camps that is called Gilazun, another big town called Birzet, where we have big university, Palestinians have big university, another small town called Kobar. Kobar is not very known, but this is the village where one of the Tanzim, the Fatah leaders, Marwan Barghouti, was born. Later on, became one of my, one of the people I arrested, Marwan Barghouti, head of the Tanzim, and other villages. And when I became in charge of those villages in the beginning, I started to study the area. So actually physically, I went to the area, so where the houses, where the roads, what Palestinian groups are working in each village, Hamas, Fatah, Islamic Jihad, and so on. And also I got in charge of all the sources in this area, a group of sources that worked for Israel. I say group of sources, but actually it's not really a group. They don't work together. In the way the Shin Bet works, we work with each source asset by himself. He doesn't know about other assets, and it doesn't matter, even if there are other assets in his village, in his neighborhood, sometimes in his home, he shouldn't know about it. He usually doesn't know about it. This is secret. He doesn't know about other sources. When I started work in May 1998, the West Bank was pretty calm. We were in the middle of the Oslo Agreement, just a few years after a very, very violent time that started in the end of 1993, then 94 and 95. This is actually the time when Hamas, the terrorist group Hamas, became very violent. All the suicide attacks started in 1993, 1994. But when I came to Ramallah, everything was calm. Now, you know, when you recruit sources, actually the meaning of recruiting someone is going to one of the Palestinians, a young Palestinian, and offer him to work for the state of Israel. This is something that for him is crazy, because, you know, young Palestinians, especially after the first Intifada, you know, before the first Intifada, the first Palestinian uprising, most Palestinians worked in Israel. I can say they actually lived in Israel and only on weekends went back to their villages. Usually they spoke some Hebrew and they have some connections with the Israelis, but the generation that was raised after the first Intifada, most Palestinians don't work in Israel, they don't speak Hebrew, they don't have any connection with the state of Israel. And now I need, as a recruiter, to come to one of the young Palestinians and offer him to work for Israel. And of course, when I offer him, the meaning of working with Israel is very harsh, because for him, first of all, is working for Israel is working for the enemy. He knows that Israel for him, as Palestinian, is the enemy. Also, it means that he's going to betray his mother, his father, his sisters and brothers, his best friends, because when he starts to work with me, maybe a day or a week later, he needs to give me information that will lead to the arrest of his brother, his father, maybe one of his best friends, maybe even the assassination of someone he loves. So the meaning of betray is very, very harsh for him. And also, in the Palestinian society, the biggest crime is working with Israel. You can do many, many things, and you'll find some social solutions to any crime someone committed. But working with Israel, collaborating with Israel to become a collaborator, this is the biggest crime someone can do. And if you're only suspected as being a collaborator of Israel, you get a death sentence. So I need to offer him something that means a very harsh thing. And what can I offer him in return? Most people think money. You know, we're in the world that everything is around money, and people think that, okay, offer him a lot of money, And he will say yes, he will agree to work with you. Now, I'll try to say, to convince you that as much as I understand the motive, why someone is doing something like this, money is not a motive. I'll try to convince you. But even if we'll talk about money, and let's put aside the fact that the Shin Bet, the Israeli Secret Service, in the end, is a governmental office with some limited budget. Maybe not that limited, but a limited budget. So let's say I have an unlimited budget, and I come to my managers and I tell them, you know, I saw now, or I recognize a Hamas member, a young Hamas member in Ramallah. His father is one of the Hamas leaders. If I recruit him, for sure I'll be able to stop some Hamas terrorism. My managers check the case and say, yes, okay, we agree, and we give you the permission to go and recruit him. Now, if we think that I need money, I'll go to bring money. And I ask myself, okay, how much money do I need to give to someone that needs now to betray his mother, father, maybe even give me the information to assassinate his father? How much do I need to give him? So I would say, probably a lot of money. I don't know what is a lot, but a lot of money. Let's say 1 million shekels, okay? 1 million shekels is a lot. Let's say 500,000 shekels. So I go and I take 500,000 shekels in order to recruit him. Now, usually, in a regular day, if I go and sign even 1,000 shekels, this is a lot of money. But let's say, okay, I took 500,000 shekels. I come to meet this young guy. I put the money on the table and tell him, you know, come, work for me. Betray your mother, father, maybe you'll need to assassinate your father, but I give you 500,000 shekels. And I guess that this young Palestinian will look at me and look at the money and start thinking about my offer. And probably he will say, you know, betraying my mother, my father, my sisters and brothers, this is something very hard for me. But at the same time, 500,000 shekels is not a little money. So let's say he agrees and says, okay, I'll work for you. He takes the money. He takes the money and now he's willing to work for me. He goes back to Ramallah, coming back to my office. I'm very happy. You know, I recruited a very important Hamas member. I start to imagine how I'm going to become the head of the Shin Bet. Something didn't really work for me, but let's say I imagine that. He goes back to Ramallah, and now let's ask ourselves, okay, what is he going to do with the money? And I guess that he'll do what most of us do. He'll start spending the money. So of course he understands he can't just take 500,000 shekels and spend it. But I would assume that he will invite his friends to a restaurant. He will buy a new car, maybe a new cell phone. And Ramallah is a big city. I say Ramallah as an example, but basically the Palestinian society, even in a big city, everybody knows what's going on. So a young guy is not very rich. Now he's going and spending money. People immediately will ask, where the heck do they have money? And the answer is very easy. Immediately, he will be suspected as being an Israeli collaborator. So basically what I try to say is that for me as a recruiter, money is a big danger. If I give him money, this will be the end of my new source. So if money is not part of what we call the motivation, what else can it be? Right now it's too early to talk about it, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Now let's talk about the Green Prince. When I arrived to Ramallah, there was a big secret around us, and the secret was that the son of one of Hamas leaders, one of the people that actually founded Hamas in the West Bank, Sheikh Hasan Yosef, his oldest son, Mus'ab, was recruited by the Shin Bet, and he got the secret name, the Green Prince. So let's talk a little bit about Hasan Yosef. Sheikh Hasan Yosef was born in a small village not far from Ramallah. He became a religious leader when he was in his 20th. We're talking about the beginning of, or the end of the 70s. He started to walk in mosques, to preach, to talk to people. And if we listened carefully to the agenda that he was talking about, this was the agenda of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood, this is not Palestinian, this is a political movement in Egypt, okay, that was actually founded in the early 20s, in 1928, around 1928. And Hamas actually was created from people that believed in the idea of the Muslim Brotherhood. But in that time, the end of the 70s, we had no Hamas, so we was very enthusiastic about the Muslim Brotherhood. And he was walking in Ramallah, talking to people, telling people, you are not allowed to drink alcohol, and those ideas. At that time, this was very radical. People didn't understand what he was talking about. Sometimes they would hit him. They would tell him, go away, but he was keep going and talking to people. A few years later, in actually 1987, Hamas was founded, December 1987, Hamas was founded in the Gaza Strip. Sheikh Hasan Yosef, Mus'ab, the Grand Prince's father, was very close to Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, the founder of Hamas. He was very happy about the idea of Hamas. He brought the idea of Hamas to the West Bank, and with about 7 extremists in the West Bank, they founded Hamas in the West Bank. Now, the irony was that he founded Hamas in the West Bank during the first uprising. At the same time, my father was number 2, the second officer in the West Bank. He was the deputy of Ehud Barak. Ehud Barak at that time was in charge of the West Bank. My father was his deputy. So basically, I can say my father was fighting Sheikh Hasan Yosef and the idea of Hamas in 1987. I guess neither Sheikh Hasan Yosef nor my father, they had the ability to imagine that their son will meet and become best friends, but this is what history wanted to happen. And Sheikh Hasan Yosef has a son. His oldest son is called Mus'ab. The name Mus'ab comes from an Arabic word which is Sa'ib. Sa'ib in Arabic is something very hard, very strong. The first Mus'ab in the Islam history was the first ambassador in the time of the Prophet Muhammad. The story is about that. The first Mus'ab was about someone that went against the will of his family. I guess that if Mus'ab's family had the ability to foresee what will happen, probably they would choose a different time, but they called him Mus'ab. And he became a young guy hating Israel. His father was arrested again and again. Mus'ab went to study in a town not far from Ramallah called El Bire. He was always involved with Hamas. He became the head of Hamas youth group in his school. And in the end of 1996, he decided to go and commit a terror attack against Israel. He hated the Israelis. He hated Israeli soldiers that always arrested his father. He went with his nephew to Nablus. Nablus is a big town in the West Bank. They bought some ammunition, guns, ammunition. They brought it to Ramallah, but just before he was able to carry out this terror attack, he was arrested by Israel. Now, of course, this wasn't coincidence. Mus'ab didn't take in consideration that from our point of view, he wasn't another Palestinian. I guess that everybody understands that the Shin Bet, the Israeli Secret Service, doesn't want and doesn't go after all the Palestinians in the West Bank. But we collect information, intelligence about people that we have some thought that these people have the ability to become a threat to security. In his case, son of one of Hamas leaders, a young guy that is always involved with all kinds of things. We collected intelligence about him. We got the information about the terror attack that he's planning. And in the end of 1996, he was arrested, taken to an interrogation center in Jerusalem. He came to the interrogation center. He was about 17 and a half. Very harsh situation. He's sitting in front of the Shin Bet interrogators. And of course, when he comes and they start to interrogate with him, he says, guys, I don't know what you want from me. I didn't do anything. I'm a peace activist. This is what he said, a peace activist. But of course, during his interrogation, the Shin Bet found out that when he talks about peace, he's not talking about what we call peace. He's talking about something else. And he admitted that he planned to commit a terror attack. And after he admitted and signed all the legal papers, he was asked to work for us. He said yes. But when he said yes, he didn't really mean to work for us. He thought about two events that occurred just before he was arrested. The first event happened in Jerusalem in 1993. A Shin Bet handler from Bethlehem area, Chaim Nachmani, recruited a young source in Hamas. One day they were supposed to meet in a secret location in Jerusalem. The asset, the source, came from Bethlehem to the meeting, to the apartment. Chaim waited for him alone, without any security. The guy came from Bethlehem with an axe, and when he entered the apartment, he murdered Chaim in the apartment. Just less than a year later in Ramallah, one of the Ramallah handlers, Noam Cohen, recruited another asset in Hamas in Ramallah. And in order to meet him, Noam went into Ramallah in a car with some security bodyguards, actually to take the source from a given location to a secret location. One day, he came to pick his asset. The asset waited for him in the location. And actually, he was waiting for him with Hamas cell, military cell that this asset told them that he's working for Israel. He revealed his secret relationship with the Shin Bet. So when Noam and the car approached to the meeting point, they shot the car and Noam got killed. A big two really tragedies that we had. This changed completely the way the Shin Bet was working with assets. I'm not going to talk about it, but anyway, when Mossad was sitting in his interrogation, basically, or apparently agreed to work with us, he planned to meet his handler and assassinate him, like the other Hamas members did. He thought that he will be willing to work with us and we are going to let him go. Of course, this is not how things are working. He was actually charged in court for 16 months in prison, but just before he was sent to prison, one of the handlers exchanged phone numbers with him in order to talk to him, and he was sent to a military prison in the northern part of Israel. He spent there 16 months, and when he was released, we contacted him again, and we told him, you know, you agreed to work with us, come meet with us. And in that point, of course, for him, he knew what will be the outcome if someone will know that he's working with us, because in the West Bank, as I said, immediate death if someone suspects you. But he came to the meeting. I think that he came for the first time basically because he was very eager to know what's going on. He was very curious about everything, you know, secret locations, secret phones. So he came to the meeting, and during the meeting, he said to his handler, you know, the only reason why I agreed to work with you is because I plan to come and kill you. Now we had big dilemma, because from one hand, Mossad's father at that time, Sheikh Hasan Yosef, one of Hamas leaders, You know, at that time, Hamas was completely secret organization. We didn't know much about Hamas. And from the other hand, so recruiting son of one of Hamas leaders, of course, from an intelligence point of view, it's a dream. But this dream can become immediately a nightmare, because the guy we're going to recruit, you know, very extreme guy, maybe unstable. He tells us, you know, I wanted to kill the handler. What do you mean I wanted? You know, yesterday I wanted to kill him, today I don't want. Like, you know that you're recruiting a ticking bomb. But of course, you know, the thought that now we have some key to enter Hamas was something we couldn't resist, and we decided to recruit him. Around him, when we met him, every meeting was a big operation, you know, to make sure that he's not going to come and try to assassinate his handler. And we started to meet him. First meeting, second meeting, and so on. And soon he got the secret name, the Green Prince. Green, of course, color of Hamas. Prince, say that he came from a royal Hamas family. I'm sorry for the word royal, but what we call royal family. So he became the Green Prince. Actually, when he started to work with us, what was surprising is the fact that soon he became the right hand of his father. He got into the Hamas management in Ramallah and actually started to teach us what Hamas is. What are the people that involved with the Hamas movement? What are they planning? It was pretty amazing to see how someone like him, son of one of Hamas leaders, becomes so helpful to us. And of course, we ask ourselves why he's doing it. What are his motives? We said at that time that this guy loves, you know, the action and adrenaline. You know, someone like him, 19 years old, he's walking in Ramallah. In the area, you have a chopper, you have a drone. He gives us some indication. Missiles are flying around. We said he loves this kind of things. I think that my answer will be a bit more complicated, but this is what we thought in the beginning. Now, it seems like everything is great. You know, here we didn't have assets in Ramallah. Now we were able to recruit the son of Hamas members, and everything is great. But of course, intelligence is not always great. And I think that the biggest problem when you work in intelligence, when you're a handler, the biggest problem is to handle the failure, because you always fail, always. You always fail because you try to recruit many people. Most of the people you try to recruit will tell you no, and it's very hard to sit with someone. You know, you collect intelligence in advance, you sit with him, you try to manipulate them, you try to offer, and they tell you no. Then you try with another one, and tells you no, and another one. And once after, you know, many people you try to recruit, someone says yes, and it doesn't mean that you recruited the Green Prince. But this is just part of it. The second part of failure is the fact that every terror attack that occurs means that you failed. Okay? I'm saying it from a moral point of view, because of course the Shin Bet can't stop all the terror attacks in the West Bank, but the feeling as a handler, you are responsible to a certain area, and you know that someone came from this area. Let's talk about Kobar. Kobar is a village. Just recently, 2 different cells. One cell that committed the terror attacks in Ofra, another area not far from Ramallah, killing Israeli soldiers. Another cell was responsible to the murder of Rina Schnerb that was killed in Endani, one of the small creeks there. So think about the handler. He's in charge of the area. He comes to the area. He says that he didn't stop the terror attack. The feeling is very bad. Now, just to show you what it means, I want to show you a real video from one of my operations. I'll show you how we captured explosives on the way to a suicide bomb or a suicide attack in Jerusalem. It happened in Passover 2002. If you'll be, you can see me for a second in the video that was taken. So I'll show you now the video, and I'll tell you something about how you succeed and how you fail after we'll see the video.
אני לא יכול.
بقدر ارد على التليفون يا
הוא רוצה לענות את הטלפון.
بقدر ارد على التليفون سلام لا شغلك ولا كيف עוד שניים!
איזה ישראלי.
מרחב הנגמר.
אתה לוקח את החשבון? רגע, המפקד. לא מזמן שיש שם את השתיים? כן, שתיים למעלה בתשביים. הנה, החבלן הגיע. לא מגיע. ניידת שלי. מה אתם חושבים?
חבר'ה, כולם לציפה. כי אם עכשיו הרכב מאיזושהי סיבה מתפוצץ, אנחנו עפים יחד עם מי שעומד שם.
יש לך קשר עם הכוח שם? לא, יש שם עוד אמבולנסים אחי, יש שם איזה רכב שלכם משתמע עובר עכשיו.
דרך הרכב עף באוויר נראה לי. חייבים לחסום את הצד השני.
יש עוד שני אמבולנסים לא, אני ביקשתי מהחדירה שיעזרו
דרך אל-איסרחד. דרך אל-איסרחד. לפי כמן סלמת איסרחד. לפי המועד תפשרי, אקיד. من عطاك
מה? סרחת? שיחזור אליך? לא, שרו שם. במידה והכל בסדר, מה? מורכבים? מורכבים ככה, אני צריך לעבור.
זה
ודאי.
ודאי?
הנה, הוא מוציא את הביתה עכשיו.
הוא מוריד את המיטה עכשיו.
זה במיטה. זה מתחת לו.
וואו. הרובוט נופל. מפחדים שזה מולכד, זה הבא.
Okay, so you see how in 27th March 2002, 1 o'clock, we stopped a suicide attack in Jerusalem. We went very happy back home to celebrate Passover. And after a few hours, we heard that a suicide bomber killed himself in a park hotel in Netanya, killing 30 people and injuring 160, more than 160 people in the hotel. So you see that the line between failure and succeed is very, very thin. Mossad, the Green Prince, helped us to fight terrorism in Ramallah during the Defense Shield operation, just after the Park Hotel terror attack. We started the Defense Shield operation. Actually, Israel went back into the cities, and also in Ramallah went back to the city. All the Hamas wanted the people decided to hide in secret locations. Mus'ab's father also wanted to go and hide with other wanted people. Mus'ab, the Green Prince, came to his father and told him, listen, Dad, I don't think it's a good idea that you'll go and hide with other Hamas members. His father was a bit puzzled and asked him why not. And he said, you know, you never know. Maybe one of those wanted people is a collaborator with Israel. I cannot let you go and stay with one of the stinking collaborators. I want you to stay in a different location. His father thought that his son is genius. Actually, he is a genius. And he went to different locations, and the other Hamas members, they wanted the people when they needed something from Sheikh Hasan Yosef, orders, money. Of course, they went to the Green Prince. In that way, we had the ability to map all the secret locations of Hamas during Defense Shield. Of course, it doesn't mean that we immediately went to arrest them, because we didn't want to use the information in a way that will affect the Green Prince. Later on, he helped us arrest 5 suicide bombers that were on their way to commit suicide in Jerusalem during Shavuot. They came to ask him for help. He found them a secret location. Of course, he revealed the secret location. And because we needed to make sure that they will not suspect him as the one that gave us the information, we had to arrest him in order to keep him safe. So actually, we sent him to prison, and he served quite a few months in prison in order to keep him safe. And in the end of 2003, he was released from prison, and he kept working with us until 2006. In 2006, he was very, very weak. He thought that he must go and run away from the West Bank. He was afraid that it will be revealed. He managed to go to the United States to get a visa and go to the United States. And when he got to the United States, the first day of 2007, he contacted his handlers. He told them, guys, I'm not going to work with you anymore. I'm going to stay in the United States. Then he went to the American government, and he told them, I'm Mus'ab, son of one of Hamas leaders, Sheikh Hasan Yosef. I converted to Christianity, and this is why he asked for asylum in the United States, because he told them, if you'll send me back to my hometown, I'll be murdered because of my religious beliefs. He joined Christian community in La Jolla, Southern California. He lived there for about 2 years, but then when they found out who he really was, they sent him away. They didn't want anything with him. And he found himself in 2008 homeless in San Diego, no work, no visa. He didn't know how to manage. And at that point, he decided to contact an old friend from Israel to ask for his help. This guy at that time was the Palestinian correspondent for the Haaretz newspaper. Later on became more famous as the creator of Fauda. I don't know if you're familiar with the Fauda, but Avi Sakharov, one of the creators of Fauda. So he contacted the Avi. He didn't tell him anything, not about the Shin Bet, espionage, the Green Prince, Fauda. The only thing he told him, Avi, I converted to Christianity. I asked for asylum in the United States. Now I live as homeless in San Diego. And this is the article that Avi published in 2008. In 2008, I was already out of the Shin Bet. I was a student. I was very surprised to see that Mossab is in the United States. I didn't know that he left the West Bank. I didn't know how to contact him. So I contacted Avi Sakharov through Arts newspaper. Of course, I didn't tell him that I was in the Shin Bet, but I told him, you know, I read the article. I was touched by the story and I want to help this dude. Maybe you can send me some connection to him. And I don't know why. Avi sent me an email, an answer. He didn't ask me who I was, nothing. The only thing he sent me is Mossab's email. Now I have his email, but I don't know what to do with it because Mossab didn't know me. I mean, he knew me, but he didn't know me as Gonen Ben Yitzhak, Shin Bet handler. He knew me by my nickname or secret name in the Shin Bet. My nickname, the secret name in the Shin Bet was Luai, Captain Luai. So the only thing he knew about me is Captain Luai and the fact that I work for the Shin Bet. So now, you know, I send him an email. What can I tell him? Captain Luai wants to help you. I say, okay. Probably the Shin Bet is sending one of my recruiters to come and bring me back to the West Bank. But now a dilemma. Should I reveal my real identity? Am I allowed to reveal my real identity? And don't forget, at that time I was studying law. So I asked myself, okay, what should I do? I sent him an email. The subject was hello from an old friend. And I told him, my name is Gonen Ben Yitzhak. You know me by my nickname, Captain Luai. And I told him about myself, the fact that I'm married, I have kids, I'm a student, I'm no longer in the Shin Bet. And I told him, I know that you're in big trouble. I want to help you. Tell me what you need. And immediately sent me a letter. He was touched by the fact that I reached for him, told me about his situation. Basically, I understood that he doesn't ask for money. He needs someone to talk with. And for a few months, we kept in touch, emails and phone calls. I didn't tell anything to the Shin Bet, but you know, I assume that if anybody is interested in this issue, probably they know about our relationship without me telling them. And in the beginning of March 2009, I decided to go and meet Mossab in the United States for the first time. Of course, going and meeting one of my assets, something I can't do without get permission, and I got permission from my wife and father. I went to San Diego. I met him in San Diego, and in this week that we stayed together in San Diego, he told me two things. First, he told me I'm going to write a book about my life. Now, when he said book, I told him, Mossab, I revealed you my real identity. I contacted you. I came here. I didn't get permission from the Shin Bet, but I'm not going to help you with the book. I cannot read the book in advance. I cannot advise. But I ask you one thing as a friend. I ask you for 5%. No, I'm just kidding. I ask you, don't reveal the Shin Bet secrets, because life of people are dependent on it. And he told me, no, I'm just going to tell Americans who I was and where I came from. But I must admit, when he told me that he's going to write a book, I thought, you know, this guy came 2 years ago from Ramallah. Now he lives in the United States. He wants to write a book in English. I guess that in the United States, there are at least 1 million books published every year. What kind of a book is going to write? A year later, in March 2010, he published his book, Son of Hamas. This book became one of the New York Times best sellers at that time. It was translated into more than 26 languages, including Hebrew. Also in Israel, became a bestseller, Son of Hamas. But during this week, he told me another thing. He told me, listen, I have a secret to tell you, something I never shared with anybody, and you're the first person that I feel comfortable enough to share my secret with. Of course, today he talks about it, and he gave me the permission to talk about it, and he told me, you know, I was about 5 years old. My parents took me to a barbecue with their friends in one of the olive orchard, the area of Ramallah. We had a great time, but then afternoon, my parents and the friends, they went away, and they left me with the friend's son. And this guy, the teenager, he was supposed to escort me back home. On our way back home, he raped me. I went back home. Of course, I didn't tell anything to my parents, and I asked him, why not? And he said, you know, I was raised in society that one of the most important thing is reputation. And if I'll have the reputation of someone that was raped when I was a child, this ruins my future. It ruins my sisters and brothers' future. It's going to ruin my family. And this is why I didn't tell anybody about it. Of course, when he told me that, it was very, very hard to hear about. My son, my oldest son, was 5 when I went to the United States as a young father. To hear that Mus'ab experienced something like this when he was 5 was very hard to hear. And also as a handler, and I'm sorry if I'm a bit cynical, but as his handler, we always said we know him better than what he knows himself, because we collect information about him. We ask other people about him. We have all kinds of ways to know things about him. Sometimes he comes, we interrogate with him. He takes the polygraph test. So basically, we know him better than what he knows himself. And actually, when he told me about the rape, he told me, you know nothing about me. You don't know what were my motives. You don't know me deeply. You know nothing. And this was something very hard to hear. I went back to Israel, and a year later, in March 2010, he was about to almost commit suicide, in the sense that he's going to publish a book and for the first time reveal a secret that until that moment only him and the Shin Bet knew about, and this is the fact that he was working almost 10 years as an asset to the Israeli intelligence. He didn't want his father to hear about it from the media. This is why he contacted his father. His father was arrested at that time in one of the Israeli prisons, but he had a smuggled cell phone in his cell. So Mossad called him and told him, listen, Dad, I have something very hard to tell you. I'm not who you think I am. For almost 10 years, I was jasus. Jasus is a collaborator. This is a word in Arabic, very harsh word in Arabic. Nobody calls himself jasus. And Hasan Yosef here, his oldest son, says he was jasus, he was collaborator for Israel. And Hasan Yosef's response was, Mossab, if you say that you were jasus, it means that someone is sitting in front of you and pointing a gun to your head. And Mossab said, no, father, I'm alone. And he started telling him about what he did for the Israeli intelligence. Hasan Yosef, in response, told him, Mossab, come back to the West Bank. We'll find a solution to the situation. And Mossab said, no, Dad, I'm not going back to the West Bank, and do whatever you find right to do. In the end of their conversation, Sheikh Hasan Yosef told Mus'ab, no matter who you were, you will always be my son. Very touching, but 2 days later, Sheikh Hasan Yosef disowned his own son. And after he disowned him, immediately Hamas issued death sentence against Mus'ab. Al-Qaeda issued death sentence against Mus'ab. If you ask yourself what Al-Qaeda has to do with it, the answer is nothing. But you know, they heard someone is going to be killed. They were very happy to take part in the murder. So this is why they issued the death sentence against him. A month after the publishing of the book, The Green Prince, Son of Hamas, sorry, the American government decided to deport Mus'ab to Jordan. They said he was affiliated with Hamas. He helped 5 suicide bombers. those bombers that actually he helped us arrest. This is why we need to deport him to Jordan. Mossad told me, you know, big problem. The US government is going to deport me to Jordan. I told him, Mossad, appeal. I'll try to come and testify on behalf of you. I don't know if I'll be able to go to the United States, but I'll try to come. And actually, July 2010, I was flying to the United States to testify on behalf of Mossad. As usual, I didn't ask for permission, but I went to the United States. And just before I was actually going into the chamber to testify, suddenly, Homeland Security representative told the judge, Your Honor, we got new information. We're not going to proceed with this case. And the judge was very surprised, but he said, okay, if you're not going to proceed, I will give him asylum. We went out of the court. We were puzzled. Nobody understood what's going on. Outside a festival, you know, CNN, Fox News, they were actually covering live this case. It was a big story in the United States. And immediately when we went out to the media, I got a message from my lawyer telling me that there is also a festival in Israel, but the festival in Israel was a bit less cheerful than comparing to the festival in the United States. I called my wife. I told her, listen, Mossad just got asylum. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask asylum in the United States. No, tomorrow I'm going to fly back to Israel. Don't wait for me. Don't tell the kids I'm coming back home, because probably I'm not coming back home. I flew back to Israel. I arrived to Ben Gurion Airport, walked towards the passport control. I saw that people are waiting for me. I knew that this is going to happen. I came to them ready to surrender. And very surprisingly, nobody even paid attention to me. I went back home, you know, American happy ending. Mossad got asylum. I got back home. I finished my degree. I became a lawyer. Okay, becoming a lawyer is not a happy ending, but anyway, this is what happened. And that's it. And for me, this was the end of the story. But then my brother-in-law, his name is Aviram, he told me, you know, this story, your father is a general in the Israeli army. Mossad's father is one of the Hamas founders. You're best friends. We have to make a movie about it. And I told Aviram, you know, that's it. I'm not going to do it. I don't think that Shin Bet will like it. But in the end, we made the movie. So the movie opened the Sundance Festival in 2014, won Audience Award in Sundance, won Ophir Prize in Israel, which is called the Israeli Oscar. Okay, so for the best documentary in 2014. May 2014, Mossad came to Israel to attend one of the Israeli festivals, and he stayed in Israel after the screening. He was visiting us, staying with us at home for a month. During that month, 3 Israeli kids were kidnapped and murdered in Gush Etzion. And Mossad, for the first time in his life, found himself in a situation that he stays with an Israeli family, not ordinary family. One of his handlers is following the news. A few days after the kidnap, the Israeli military published a movie that shows the arrest of his father in Betunia. This is maybe 15 kilometers from our home in Modi'in. And everything became very personal, and he decided to buy a ticket and go back to the United States. He lives today in the United States, lives alone, he never got married. He, of course, he has no relationship with his family in the West Bank that disowned him. Actually, his only family is my family. My kids actually call him Uncle Mossad. They really love him. And if I need to talk about motives, I think that it's pretty much obvious that the rape was the beginning of the story. I think that when he was raped, this what created a gap between him and the Palestinian society, between him and his family. You know, he never tried to get revenge from the guy that raped him. This guy lives in Ramallah. Mossab was able, when he was wanted person, was part of the Hamas movement, he was able to get to this guy, kill him, and he was able to say, this guy is a collaborator with Israel. He never tried to get revenge with this guy, but I think that somehow he still has an open account with the Palestinian society, and also with his father that he always admired. Once he told me that when he was 16, he went out from his home with his father, and on the step door there was a cockroach or something, and Mossab wanted to step on him and kill him. And Sheikh Hasan Yosef told him, no, Mossab, don't kill him. It's a living creature. We don't kill living creatures. Told him, thanks God, it wasn't a Jewish cockroach. But anyway, this Sheikh Hasan Yosef tells him, you know, don't kill a cockroach. When Mossab was 17, 18, he was sent by Sheikh Hasan Yosef, his father, every morning to start the family car to make sure that the car is not going to blow up. And I think that when he calls his father to the prison and tells him the harshest thing he can, he told him, Dad, I was a collaborator, I was jasus. This is when he actually murdered his father psychologically and got even with his father. And by this, I'm trying to say that all my assets, all the assets I ever recruited or handled, all of them had some psychological reason why they do it. It's not money, something way deeper than money itself. Of course, all of them got some money, but money was not the basic motive to come and work for us. So this is my short story about the Green Prince and my friendship with this sweet guy. And of course, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have.
Gonen, fascinating is not the word to describe this. Phenomenal story, and I'm sure you could go on and on and on. I've got a few questions that people are asking. I hope you don't mind. We're going to go straight into the questions. So one of the questions that has been asked is Mossab still in danger today, even though he's living in the US?
I think he is. From time to time, I try to remind him that there is still danger. I don't think that Hamas is going to send assassins to kill him. But I think that there is a danger because there are many Muslims in the United States, and for some reason, Mossab is considered as Islamophobic. I don't think he is, but anyway, this is what people think about him, and this puts him in danger. Sometimes when we talk, I ask him, how are you doing? What's going on? He tells me, great. When he tells me great, I tell him, okay, now I'm worried, because if everything is okay, this is where we make mistakes. This is where we need to think that someone is watching us. And I try from time to time to put him in and he knows, okay, he's a brilliant guy. He knows and he understands it. He doesn't need me to tell him, but from time to time, I try to remind him that danger is there.
Gonen, tell us, it's very difficult to understand the motives, as you were saying, and it is fascinating to understand the motives. But sometimes we see, and you need to tell us if this is the case, where Palestinian women or men have been found to contravene a very specific Islamic law, and they are essentially sentenced to either death or suicide. Is this one of the means of which way you can recruit? You can recruit one people.
Okay, sometimes people think that we can blackmail people using their weak points in order to force them to work with us. So yes, we can. Okay, technically we can. Technically, we can blackmail people and force them to do it. We don't do it not because working for intelligence is a noble thing, maybe not, but because if you force someone to do it, probably he'll try to find a way to get out of this situation, and most probably he will commit either a suicide attack or he will try to kill you in order to clean his name. So this is the reason why we don't use, once there was a letter, intelligence people from one of the military intelligence units in Israel claimed that Israel is collecting information about homosexuals in order to blackmail them and recruit them. This is not how it works. Okay, it's not that we don't know about it, but if someone is known in the Palestinian society as homosexual, immediately for them, he is suspected as a collaborator in Israel, with Israel, because when we talk about collaborators, the Palestinians call collaborators people that use drugs, people that are homosexuals, people that are different, all of the social problems they have, they call it collaborators. And this is why, and I'm sorry, sometimes what I say is not very politically correct, but I'm just trying to give you a picture of what's going on. This is why I will not recruit someone that has social problems within the Palestinian society, because immediately will be suspected, and I don't want them to reveal my assets.
Gonen, final question. How does this series program Fauda resonate with you, and how true?
Well,
sorry, I should say Captain Gabi. Could you tell us how Fauda resonates with you?
Gabi must be based on.
I think you need to ask Avi. I never asked him. I always remind myself, I never asked Avi why he sent me Musab's email in the first place. In the time he didn't know who I was, and he sent me the email. I meet Avi from time to time. Both of us, we like to jog on the Tel Aviv beach, so we meet almost every weekend when we jog, and I always forget to ask him, but I think this is something you need to ask him, meaning you need to invite him to talk, and maybe he will be willing to say. Fauda is a great TV. As a TV show, some things are very realistic, some things are not, but I really think that they made a superb the TV show, very interesting. I really love it. I really love it.
Gonen, there's two more questions that have popped up that people want to, I hope you don't mind.
Sure. It's my pleasure.
Fantastic.
I'm willing to stay all night long.
No, fantastic. Gonen, are you at all in any danger, either physically or legally?
No, when I went to testify, I had the potential of having some legal problems with the Shin Bet. I must say that I'm very thankful to the Shin Bet, because I think that a story like my story, if something like this will occur in the United States or somewhere else, let's say a CIA agent going to testify in Hungary to one of his assets without getting the permission of the American government, probably will end 20 years in prison. The Shin Bet didn't do anything. They didn't do it, I guess, because they understood that someone had to take responsibility over Musab, and they didn't do it. I was raised in a family, my father and my mother always told us, you never leave a soldier behind. They didn't say you never leave a Jewish soldier behind or an Israeli soldier behind. They said you don't leave a soldier behind. Musab was our soldier. I didn't have the ability not to interfere and do something, because this is the way I was raised at home, and this is the way I was raised in the Shin Bet. And I think the reason why the Shin Bet never did anything to us is because they realized that I took responsibility. I did it for the Shin Bet, for the State of Israel, and for Musab, and I'm very thankful for them to understand it, because at that time I was sure that I'm going to prison.
Gonen, tell us, how did you manage to master the Arabic dialect, and specifically the dialect that they speak? There's different dialects. There's also a lot of culture within the language. How did you manage to master the language?
The Shin Bet has maybe the best ulpan to study Arabic, the best teachers. Even today, when I speak, some of the words I think about my teachers. I had great teachers, and we were studying almost a year, day and night Arabic. Not only the language, but also culture, religious, and so on. I think this opened a window for me, because Arabic and Hebrew are very similar in many aspects. And living in Israel without speaking Arabic is something that today I can't even imagine. I think by speaking the language and understanding the culture, this closes many gaps between Israelis, Arabs. So I'm very happy. I think one of the presents that I got from being in the Shin Bet is the fact that today I'm able to read, to speak, to listen to Arabic, which is an amazing language.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Gonen, there's a question from the public, asked what the Green Prince, Musab's view of politics of Israel is, and does he believe in peace? Does he believe in there can never be peace between the two people?
Yes, of course. First of all, the Green Prince is a Palestinian, is a proud Palestinian, and he wants the best for his people. But he thinks that today's leadership, both Hamas and the PA, is not a fit leadership. And of course, he is against the leaderships. He saw the corruption in Hamas, he saw the corruption of the Palestinian Authority, and he doesn't like either the Palestinian Authority and the Hamas. He thinks that people can live together. And by the way, in the beginning, he had many reasons why he is working for us. But one of the main reasons was because he really believed at that time, and today, of course, that he needed to stop the murder of innocent people. And this is what he did. And for him, when he saw Jews and when he saw Palestinians, he saw human beings. And I think that today he knows that when I saw him and when I saw any given Palestinian, I see human beings. Yes, we have some cultural gaps, we have some political gaps, but in the end, we are both human beings. And he paid very high price to show his people that Jews are not monsters, because this is what he learned when he was young. When he was 5 years old, he was sitting in a closed usra, closed group of young children, and the imam in the mosque told him, you will become 16, and if you want to be good Muslim, you need to go and commit suicide and kill Jews. This is what he learned when he was 5, and he was able to take this ideology, to look at it, to confront with it, and go against what he learned at home. And I think this is a huge thing. Now, I don't expect all the Palestinians to do it. I don't think that they are able to do it, because he's a very, very special person. But I think the fact that today our movie, for example, is sold in Ramallah, his book, Son of Hamas, is sold in Ramallah, is something that I couldn't even imagine. Because for the Palestinian Authority, for Hamas, what he wrote in the book is terrible for them. But still people want to see the movie, to read this book. And I think this gives us some hope that things can maybe go to a different direction.
Gonen, do you know, there's a question from the audience, do you know anything about Musab's brother, Sheikh Yosef?
Yes.
Who he also recently turned against Hamas.
Yes, Suhaib, I know Suhaib personally, of course. say that Suhaib once was arrested because he had a plan to kill me. Suhaib wanted to murder me, and he was arrested because of that. Suhaib is a very problematic guy. I like him. He's a nice guy, but many problems. I think what he told to Ohad Chemo, to Channel 12 News, about the fact that he was a member of Hamas, I don't think what he told was true. I think he told the story of another brother of them, another brother that is called Muhammad. Muhammad lives today in Turkey. You know that President Erdogan is one of the biggest supporters of Hamas in the world. The military wing of Hamas is working closely with Erdogan, and Musab's brother Muhammad lives in Turkey and works for Hamas. And I think what Suhaib told was actually the story of Muhammad, but you know, this is a Suhaib, problematic guy. I do want to say, if we talk about the family and about Fauda, one of the twists in the story was that during the Gilad Shalit agreement, when Gilad Shalit was released, one of the terrorists that was released during the deal was a guy from Bethlehem, Hamas guy. He killed 3 people in Jerusalem in the 90s, one policeman and 2 women. One of the women was a soldier at that time. She was the girlfriend of Lior Raz, the second creator of Fauda. And the presence of this terror attack, of course, is shown in the first season. And when this terrorist was released, he was deported from Bethlehem to Gaza. He got to Gaza, and in Gaza, he married Musab's sister. So now...
amazing stories.
Now we became a family. Yeah.
It is unbelievable. I mean, Gonen, it is truly fascinating. It's a different reality. It's a different set of rules that you had to play with. This is not politics. This is not war. This is something else. Right. It takes a unique character to have the ability to be able to do your job. We understand that. We know that we don't know. It's phenomenal, the work that you do, and we really wish you all the best going forward. You know, since we can't fully comprehend, we understand the dangers that Israeli soldiers go through on a day-to-day. We understand the IDF put themselves in the front line, and when a soldier is either hurt or is killed, the entire Jewish nation mourns. Because we hear about it, we learn about it, we see the funeral, we see the mourners. But what we don't see are the rest of the men and women on the front line. Those are yourselves. Those are the people in the services that cannot be revealed. These are the people in the front lines on a day-to-day basis. And when you told us the story about the Shin Bet operatives that were killed, we didn't hear about that. We didn't get a chance to mourn. Their families only knew about it, and you all knew about it. You are truly the silent heroes. You are truly the people that are saving Israeli lives on a day-to-day basis. I am sure the work that you have done not only saved Israelis on the day and all Jews on the day, but also for years to come, and possibly still to this day. We cannot thank you enough for your service. We know the danger that you put yourself in. We appreciate it, and we will always, always remember what was a wonderful evening in isolation, listening to your words. So, Gonen, go well, go safe, be happy.
Thank you very much.
Most of all, keep in contact with us, because when we are out of isolation, we'd love to bring you over to A, shake your hand, and B, hug you, and C, let you come and tell your story face to face to as many people as possible. We've been the Zionist Federation WZO. I've been Paul Charney, and all the guests, you be safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.